I observed Mark's face light up with a sense of victory as I relinquished my stake in the lottery ticket. His lawyer struggled to suppress a grin while sliding the papers across the table. "See, that wasn't so difficult," Mark said, tucking the $10 million ticket into his pocket. "You should have agreed to this weeks ago instead of dragging it on. I'm Sarah Mitchell, and I just allowed my soon-to-be ex-husband to think he had outplayed me." The lottery ticket he claimed to have bought was purchased just 3 days before he filed for divorce. Too much of a coincidence to ignore. "Are we finished here?" I asked, keeping my voice even as I packed my things. My attorney, Jennifer Chen, gave me a questioning look. We had discussed contesting the ticket's ownership. It was bought during our marriage, but I had made the decision to walk away. "Just a few more signatures," Jennifer said, laying out the final divorce papers. "Are you absolutely certain about this, Sarah?" Mark rolled his eyes. "She's sure, right, honey? Time to move on." I signed where directed, my mind drifting back to the moment everything fell into place 2 weeks ago. While sorting through old documents in preparation for the divorce, I found something that changed the entire game. "Congratulations," Mark's lawyer said as we wrapped up. "You're officially divorced." Mark didn't even glance at me as he stood up, immediately pulling out his phone, probably texting Amy, his 20-something receptionist mistress, with whom he'd been seeing for the past year. "Mr. Mitchell," Jennifer called after him, "you have 48 hours to claim the lottery prize before it expires." He waved her off. "Don't worry, I'm heading to the lottery office right now. Time to start fresh." As the door shut behind him, Jennifer turned to me. "Sarah, I need to ask, why did you let go of your claim to the ticket? We could have fought for half." I smiled, pulling a folder from my briefcase. Because sometimes winning isn't about taking half. I opened the folder, revealing bank statements, computer records, and emails I had uncovered during my investigation. "What's all this?" Jennifer asked, leaning in. "Evidence that Mark didn't buy that ticket," I said quietly, "and evidence showing where the winning numbers really came from." 2 weeks earlier, I'd stumbled upon an old notebook while cleaning out the home office. It contained lists of numbers, birth dates, anniversaries, and ages that I'd been using for my weekly lottery tickets for the past 5 years. Mark had always mocked my system, calling it a waste of money, but I continued to play the same numbers every week through our online bank's automatic payment system. The winning numbers? They were the exact ones I had played the week before Mark claimed to have bought his lucky ticket. "Are you saying?" Jennifer's eyes widened as she flipped through the papers. "The money for that ticket came from our joint account," I explained. "The same account I've been using to play my numbers. Mark saw that I had won, canceled my payment, and bought a duplicate ticket using my numbers." "But why didn't you fight for it back then? We could have proven." "Because of this," I said, pulling out one final document, a report from the Lottery Commission about duplicate tickets. Jennifer scanned it quickly, her eyes widening further. "Oh my God." "Exactly," I said, organizing the papers back into my folder. "Mark's about to get a very costly lesson in karma." As we left the law office, my phone buzzed with a text from Mark. "Hope you enjoy your life of mediocrity while I live it up." I didn't respond. Instead, I glanced at my watch. 3:45 p.m. The lottery office closed at 5. "How long do you think it will take him to figure it out?" Jennifer asked as we headed toward her car. "That depends on how thorough they are with checking for duplicate tickets," I replied. "But I'd say within an hour." What Mark didn't know, which I discovered during my research, was that when 2 tickets from the same drawing are duplicates, the prize gets split. And if only one ticket holder claims it before the deadline, well, that's where it gets interesting. I settled into Jennifer's passenger seat, thinking about the other ticket, the original one, purchased automatically through my bank account and safely locked in a safe deposit box across town. Mark thought he'd outsmarted me by stealing my numbers and claiming the duplicate. But in less than 48 hours, he'd realized that his victory would cost him everything. "Where to?" Jennifer asked as she started the car. "The bank," I replied. "I need to pick something up." As we drove, I reflected on the past year, finding out about Mark's affair, feeling him pull away, watching our 15-year marriage unravel. The lottery win should have been a new beginning, a fresh start for us. Instead, he'd seen it as his escape, bragging about it while we were separated, boasting about how lucky he was to buy that ticket right before leaving his boring wife. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Mark. Just arrived at the lottery office. Can't wait to claim my millions. I smiled, picturing his expression when they ran the ticket through their system, when they discovered the duplicate, when they asked him all the questions about where and when he bought it. Should we wait? Jennifer asked as we neared the bank. No, I said. The show's about to start without us. Right on cue, my phone rang, Mark's number flashing on the screen. I ignored the incoming call, watching as 3 more followed in quick succession. Ahead, the bank's imposing marble columns reflected the warm afternoon light. Inside, my safe deposit box contained not only the original winning ticket, but also detailed records of every lottery purchase I'd made for the last 5 years. Mark thought he had outsmarted me, swooping in to claim my victory. He had underestimated me, always his mistake. Today, I would make him understand just how costly that error would prove to be. By the time I retrieved the original lottery ticket from my box, my phone had been bombarded with messages from Mark, each one more frantic than the last. Call me. This isn't funny, Sarah. You knew, didn't you? Answer your ******ing phone. Jennifer, who had been reading over my shoulder, looked at me with a smirk. Should we go to the lottery office? Wouldn't miss it for anything, I replied, feeling a sense of satisfaction rising. As expected, the lottery office was exactly as I imagined. Mark was at the counter, his face flushed with frustration as he argued with a calm clerk. His lawyer stood nearby, frantically flipping through papers. There's got to be a mistake, Mark insisted. I bought that ticket. It's mine. The clerk remained unshaken. Sir, our system shows this as a duplicate. We need to verify the original purchase and confirm if there are multiple claimants. Mark spun around at the sound of our footsteps. His eyes narrowed as he saw me, and a sneer formed on his face. You, he spat. You knew about this. About what? I asked, feigning innocence as I stepped to the counter. Oh, you're trying to claim the prize from last week's drawing? Funny, I'm doing the same thing. I placed my ticket down alongside a folder containing my bank records, automatic payment history, and 5 years' worth of lottery purchases. The clerk's eyes widened as she scanned the documents. Miss Mitchell, would you please come with me? Our director needs to review this. Mark tried to follow, but security stepped in his way. This is absurd, he yelled. She's trying to steal what's mine. Actually, Jennifer said loudly, making sure everyone could hear, it looks like you're the one trying to steal, Mr. Mitchell. Buying a duplicate ticket with knowledge that the numbers had already won could be considered fraud. Mark's color drained. His lawyer quickly pulled him aside for a whispered conversation. In the director's office, I calmly laid out everything. How I'd been using the same set of numbers for years, how the winning ticket had been purchased through my automated system, and how Mark had bought the duplicate after realizing my numbers had won. This is quite an unusual case, the director remarked after reviewing my documentation. Typically, duplicate tickets are split between the rightful claimants. However, if it's shown that one ticket was purchased fraudulently. I nodded. I have proof that Mark accessed my bank account to view my lottery purchases before buying his ticket. He also canceled my automatic payment system the same day he bought his duplicate. The director made a few notes, then picked up the phone. We'll need to contact our legal department and possibly law enforcement to investigate further. When I stepped out of the office an hour later, Mark was still there, pacing nervously. His lawyer looked grim. Sarah, please, Mark pleaded, his voice breaking. We can work this out. Split it 50-50, like we should have done during the divorce. I stared at him, the man who betrayed me, belittled me, and tried to take what wasn't his. The man who thought he could simply walk away with everything. No, Mark, I said, my voice steady. We can't work this out. You made your choice when you decided to steal from me instead of being honest. You took money from our joint account, knowing full well what you were doing after moving out and filing for divorce. Jennifer added, the bank records show exactly when you logged in and what you've accessed. His lawyer stepped forward, clearly trying to salvage the situation. Maybe we should discuss this in private. There's nothing to discuss, I interrupted firmly. The Lottery Commission has the evidence, and they'll decide on the ticket. They'll also determine if fraud charges should be pursued. Mark's face drained of all color. Fraud charges? Yes, Jennifer said with a smile that held no warmth. Buying a duplicate ticket with knowledge that it had already won is textbook fraud. Mark collapsed into a chair, the full weight of his actions sinking in. Not only was he going to lose the $10 million he'd hoped to claim, but now he might face criminal charges as well. Why? He whispered, his voice cracking. Why did he just tell me about the ticket during the divorce? I thought of all the lies, the betrayal, and the times he made me feel small. Because you needed to learn that actions have consequences, I said calmly, and because I'm not as stupid as you thought. As we left the lottery office, Mark's desperate cries following us, I felt lighter than I had in years. The lottery commission would take a few days to make their decision, but the outcome was already clear. My phone buzzed again. A final message from Mark. I'm sorry, please don't do this to me. I deleted it without hesitation. He had spent years doing things to hurt me, never once considering how I felt. Now it was his turn to face the consequences of his actions, and I wouldn't be sharing my winnings with anyone. 3 months later, I sat across from the director of the Lottery Commission, signing the final documents to claim my $10 million reward. The investigation had been meticulous, but the outcome was clear. The original ticket was mine, and Mark's duplicate had been fraudulently obtained. Congratulations, Miss Mitchell, the director said, sliding a ceremonial check across the desk. After deductions, you'll be receiving around $6.4 million. The transfer will be completed within 48 hours. I smiled, thinking of how things had unfolded far differently than Mark had envisioned. He was currently facing criminal charges for lottery fraud, and his lawyer's attempts to dismiss the charges had failed. Have you figured out what you'll do with the money? Jennifer asked as we exited the office. Yes, actually, I replied. I've already made plans. The first thing I did was set up a foundation dedicated to helping women escape financially abusive situations. $3 million will go toward providing resources, legal assistance, and support services. Another $1 million will fund scholarships for women who want to return to school after divorce. Something I really wish I'd had when Mark first began showing his true nature years ago. The rest will secure my own future while I finally chase the dreams Mark always mocked as unrealistic. My phone buzzed with a text message, but it wasn't from Mark, who was prohibited from contacting me under his bail conditions. It was from Amy, his ex-girlfriend. I heard about everything. I'm so sorry. I had no idea he was like that. I almost chuckled at the irony. Amy had left Mark shortly after the lottery incident, finally seeing him for who he truly was. Last I heard, she was dating someone her own age and finishing her degree. Life has a way of teaching us important lessons. I replied briefly, and later that evening, I walked through my new apartment, a modest yet comfortable space overlooking the city park. No luxurious marble countertops or chandeliers like Mark had always insisted on. Just simple, stylish furnishings that made me feel truly at home. My writing desk sat by the window, where I had been working on my first novel, another dream Mark had ridiculed, calling it a waste of time. The advance copy from the publisher rested on the desk. It seemed I had quite the story to tell. The doorbell rang, right on schedule. Sarah, my sister, stood there with a bottle of champagne, ready to celebrate. She pulled me into a hug. We settled on the balcony, watching the sunset over the city, the same city where, just months ago, I had felt trapped in a marriage that slowly suffocated me. Have you heard from him? Sarah asked, her tone cautious. His lawyer tried to work out a deal, I replied. They offered a lesser charge if I agreed to split the prize money. I smiled, sipping my champagne. I told them I'd rather see justice done. My phone buzzed again, an email from the foundation. The first round of grants had been approved, helping 10 women break free from financial abuse and start anew. You know what's funny? I said to Sarah. Mark always said I was terrible with money, that I was wasting it on lottery tickets. But those numbers, Mom's birthday, Dad's age when he passed, the old house number, weren't random at all. They were reminders of where I came from, of who I was before him. Sarah squeezed my hand. And look at you now. Indeed, look at me now. The following morning, I met with my financial advisor, another thing Mark had always insisted on handling himself. We discussed investment plans, retirement goals, and future charitable giving. You're in a fantastic position, she said as she reviewed my portfolio. The foundation is set up perfectly for tax efficiency, and your personal investments are well diversified. Leaving her office, I passed by a newsstand. The local paper's headline caught my attention. Local man pleads guilty to lottery fraud. I didn't need to read the article. I knew Mark had taken a plea deal. 18 months in prison, full restitution of legal fees, and a felony fraud conviction that would ruin his career in finance. His carefully constructed image was shattered, his deceit exposed, and his future irrevocably altered by his own greed. But I wasn't celebrating his downfall. Instead, I was celebrating my own rise, not just in wealth, but in personal strength. Yes, the money was significant, but it wasn't what made me rich. What made me rich was finding my voice, reclaiming my power, and using both to help others do the same. That evening, as I worked on my novel, I received one last email from a lottery commission. They were featuring my story in their fraud prevention materials, using it to warn others about the consequences of fraudulent ticket claims. I smiled, remembering how Mark had always underestimated me. He saw me as simple, naive, someone he could control and manipulate. But in the end, those same numbers I've faithfully played for years, the ones he'd mocked and tried to steal, had exposed his true nature to the world. And I hadn't just won the lottery. I had won my freedom, my dignity, and a chance to make a meaningful difference in the lives of others. That was worth more than any sum of money. As I closed my laptop and gazed out at the city lights, I felt at peace. The woman Mark had tried to diminish was gone, replaced by someone stronger, wiser, and infinitely more powerful. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about retaliation. Sometimes it's about transformation. And I had transformed into something far better. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time, and stay stunned.